Hello, and welcome back to Jane Doe Reads. I am your host, Jane Doe, here for your reading needs. First things first, I do have permission from the lovely Queen Star of the Universe to post their lovely fic here on YouTube. Yay! Now, second things second, this is my third and final time trying to post chapter 1. Hopefully I never have to repost it again because audio has been such a pain to deal with, and I fixed it. You no longer hear me from just the right side, you hear me from both sides. I fixed it, and I never hope I have to do this again. Audio has been the bane of my existence for the last 3 days. However, I have finished recording chapter 1. I have recorded this section, so hopefully, once I put it all together in the nice clean video that you're now watching, it's all fine and dandy. Woo! With that being said, let's get on to the fic. The fanfic that I'll be reading for you guys today is called Adventures of a Screwed Up Clone by Queen Star of the Universe. The tags are currently listed on screen. The ones that are bolded are the ones that I think are the most important. However, every tag should be taken under consideration. Please pause the screen to read the tags fully, just to know what you're dealing with this fic. On to the summary. Making the most of her accidental existence, Danielle, Danny Phantom, ventures around the world. Her travels lead her to Bloodhaven, where she bumps into some trouble with the law, aka Officer Dick Grayson, and later the legendary superhero, Nightwing. Or in which Danny becomes the adopted younger sibling of the entire Bat Clan, who would absolutely kill for her. They love their little menace. Oh, one last thing. Queen Star of the Universe is working hard on their second part of Clone Chronicles, so please go check out the work and give them all your love and support. Now, let's get into it. Adventures of a Screwed Up Clone by Queen Star of the Universe. Chapter 1. Bloodhaven's police station sucks. Well, I'm off to a fantastic start, Danny thinks to herself, drumming her nails on the bench below her. Her nails are getting pretty long, and a couple are chipped or jagged, making the quiet taps of nail on metal uneven. Prison in the first hour of entering city limits. Record? Well, probably not in this city. There's a clang beside her, but Danny doesn't bother glancing at it. She's alone in the cell, sitting just out of reach of the neighboring cell's occupants. Her knee kind of aches, and she absently scratches at it, only succeeding in opening the scab. It's probably for the best. The blood will disguise the rapidly healing scrape. No need to mark herself as a meta in this city. As much fun as getting kidnapped sounds, it's not, really. Danny watches another cop enter from what she guesses is the locker room. Uniform sharp and his hair is nicely styled. He's young, attractive, and very smiley. The other workers seem to unconsciously part for him as he saunters by. Behind his back, men glare or roll their eyes, while a sparse few women eye his retreating figure. The newcomer's eyes filt over the whole room, sliding over most things but pausing on others. The criminals in the open-air prison cells catch his interest the most. His eyes are a remarkable shade of blue, with that tan skin, a creamy light caramel, and dark hair. The blue is almost out of place, brighter somehow. Oh, he's looking at her. Danny flashes him an impatient look and a half-wry smile before letting her gaze wander, idly kicking her feet to emphasize her boredom. Maybe she should vanish. Even if that would put a weird target on her back. The cops know what she looks like, but the footage should all be corrupt, so they likely won't be able to get a good print of her out. What's with the girl? The conversation had previously flowed over Danny's head, but when she hears herself referenced, she focuses more clearly. It's the attractive cop, leaning over the desk of one of the only men in this precinct that doesn't make Danny's skin crawl. She's someone Walton and I picked up when responding to a 1050 in the corner of 30 and 12. We weren't sure if she saw something. She said she didn't, but she was the caller and couldn't produce any ID or a full name, so we brought her in. 1050. Danny wonders what that code means. She hasn't been in America long, so she hasn't looked into any police codes. They'd be cool to learn, though. Like a secret code. Like Morse code. She should really learn Morse code. Why hasn't she already? She's still here? The pretty boy cop asks, probably in response to whatever the other cop said. Danny returns her fleeting attention to the conversation again, tuning out the rest of the white noise. We've contacted social, but you know how they are. They could be a while. Ugh. Danny hates dealing with the parent police. She glares at the concrete floor, regretting her entire existence. Well, at least she can slip a social worker easier than a cop.
if not as quickly. Don't, Grayson.
Don't what?
His name is Grayson, then. That doesn't clue her into what his heritage is. Maybe if she hears the other part? Don't let her out. Kids like her are always flight risks. You know that. Oh, is he contemplating letting her out? Not his pretty boy cop has a brain. But if Danny is transferred to this Grayson guy, she might be able to puppy dog eye her way out of this whole thing. A sigh. Yeah. The sound of rustling papers. Grayson. Go home, Roland. Your shift is over, comes the pretty reply. Danny wonders if that's an accent she detects, or if the words are just carrying a hint of a teasing tone. I'll finish the paperwork for you tonight. You weren't there, the other cop grumbles. But you already know that, just like you already know I finished that paperwork. Whatever. It's way too early for this. Danny hears the sound of fabric, a zipper, and the rustle of keys as they're put in a pocket. You know, Grayson, if I didn't know you so well, I wouldn't let you within 20 feet of that kid. Danny stares harder at the floor, trying to keep her eyes from slipping up to look at the two cops. She doesn't want to make it obvious she's eavesdropping, even if that would be impossible to make out the conversation if she was just any old regular girl. Oh, you. I would never do anything untoward. He's acting dramatic, but Danny can sense the truth behind those words. I hate you, Grayson. I hope you put on meter duty today. There's no verbal response, just the shifting of paper. Danny stares harder at the cracks. She wants to look up so bad. Slam! Danny flinches so hard she almost falls off her bench. A high-pitched crackling follows the noise, and Danny turns to glare at the highly intoxicated man to her right that had slammed his whole body against the bars. Man, that hurt. Danny rubs at her ears, trying to zone out the noise and let it wash back into the ever-present buzzing. She was too focused on listening, and that just made the loud noise all the more obnoxious. Now her attention is too far from her hearing, because she doesn't notice that Pretty Cop had approached her cell until she hears the distinct sounds of a key disengaging the lock. Danny glances up, cautious, ignoring the swipe of the man at her right as he tries to further get under her skin by trying to reach her. Pretty Cop opens the doors, the hinges making the most grating screech as he does, and holds out his arms in an inviting manner. Danny gives him her best deadpan glare. He breaks first, the weak noodle. I'm just going to ask you some more questions. Even if you don't feel like answering, we can see about getting you released. With a long, suffering sigh, Danny gets to her feet. She makes sure to give him a long, hard look, raking over his stance and face. After pretending to contemplate, Danny makes her way out of the cell and stands to the side as Grayson shuts the door behind her. She tries to edge into his blind spot, just to see if she can, but he fluidly moves with her, keeping her within his peripherals. This might be more difficult than first anticipated. He leads the way to the interrogation rooms, never letting her slip out of his sight, keeping up with that disarmingly friendly smile. When he goes to unlock the door, though, Danny decides to try a slip and ducks behind him in a dead sprint. She gets about 2 steps before a hand shoots out in a blur to scruff her by the back of her hoodie like some unruly kitten. Listen, she's not that light. Gravity's just a little more lenient to her than it is to others. Danny kicks out, but the cop is quick to set her down and gently push her into the badly lit room. Danny accepts her fate. She pulls out a chair and sits, shooting him a disgruntled glare. I'm sorry I grabbed you like that. Grayson apologizes earnestly. His eyes are big and gentle. No problem, she sighs, propping her elbow on the table so she can rest her head in her palm. It was worth a shot. Pretty Cop raises an eyebrow. Just one, actually, which is pretty impressive. Danny can do that too, but Danny never figured out how to do it herself. She spares herself the indignity of trying it out right at that moment. Would you like a drink? Scotch on the rocks with a twist. Danny responds immediately. Pretty Cop levels her with an unimpressed look. Fine. Water, neat, without a twist. She catches the quirk of his lip as he exits the room, presumably to grab her some water. What did with a twist mean again? Added alcohol? Or like juice? It's not like Danny drinks. If she even ended up with liquor in her possession, she's sure Danny would rip his way through the fabric between dimensions and slap it right out of her hand. The mental image brings her some amusement, and she distracts herself for a moment wondering if she should try a sip of wine to see if she get caught. The door is unlocked, and Danny focuses again as Pretty Cop enters the room with a plastic cup of water. She stops swinging her legs from where she'd been idly kicking and accepts the water. It takes her less than 3 gulps to empty it. She hadn't realized how thirsty she was. She placed it upside down on the table in front of her, just because. He's still watching her.
What? Do you want to thank you? Because water's free and a plastic cup's like 4 cents.
He valiantly wrestles with a responding smile. He sets down a stack of papers and sits across from her. I'm Officer Grayson. It's nice to meet you. Of course it is. Danny is a delight. This is the part where you introduce yourself. Danny just smiles serenely. The silence stretches. Her smile doesn't drop. In fact, her mind has already wandered to possibly seeing Jurassic Park later. It's a movie, right? Danny really needs to see more of those. We'll come back to that then. He sounds about 10 years older. What happened with the accident?
Some dude got hit by a car. Man was just walking along and bam.
Danny slaps her hand at an angle like a motion of a passing car.
He was roadkill.
She may be repressing the memory. Just a bit. It was pretty gruesome, to be honest. Was he dead when you called 911?
Almost,
she replies, thinking back to the rattling breaths from blood-filled lungs.
He was choking on his own blood.
She was allowed to go to the restroom and wash her bloody hands, but she can still see the red in her fingernails.
Couldn't have made it to the hospital.
He didn't, the officer confirms. Danny already knew that, but she still grimaces and feels a sense of failure. Can you provide me any details about the car? Danny feels more snappish now, so she answers.
It was wet because it was drizzling. It was black because it was night. It had wheels because it was a car, and it was outside because we were outside.
Grayson responds with a grin. It was only outside for a while. If you noticed, it was wet when it had only been lightly raining. Dark, meaning they had their headlights off, making it very possible that this was deliberate. And thank you. We'll take a look at the tire tracks. Danny gives him a mildly impressed look. Did you happen to know the victim?
Nah.
So what were you doing on that street at 2 a.m?
I just got in town like an hour earlier. I hadn't even figured out where I was yet.
Is there a reason you arrived in the middle of the night?
Yeah, it's the time when I finished traveling.
Why are you in Bloodhaven?
It was on my list.
What list?
My list of cities.
The officer huffs, though Danny senses it more amusement than frustration. She's amused, at least. All right, let's go back to your name.
No.
Do you have a last name with that?
No way.
She replies with a smirk. Unique is a dry response. Is that a family name?
It's Irish, she quips.
He lets out a long sigh. Can you at least tell me why you won't tell me your name?
Because then you'll have it,
Danny says. Now you're just being difficult.
You're just realizing this now?
Is because you don't want a name attached to the fingerprints we took? He looks up from where he's likely confirming that tidbit information on the files. Danny shrugs, essentially confirming it. Why not give an alias? Danny picks at her nails. She should really wash them more thoroughly. Maybe clip them. Are you hiding from something? He sounds so sincere. Danny's getting irritated.
When can I go?
The sincere looks fades into something more sheepish and uncomfortable. Well, you're a minor with no identification. Although she already knew where this was going, Danny still dejectedly asks.
You called the parent police?
Pretty Cop tilts his head in affirmation. Unless you have parents we can call. Danny sighs.
Nope.
She's beyond frustrated now, and she just wants to go exploring.
Can't you just let me go? She blurts. It's not like I've committed a crime or anything. I'll just leave whatever foster home you put me in anyway.
He raises an eyebrow. Ignoring that comment, you're the only witness. How are we supposed to reach you if we don't have any of your information? Besides, it's not like we can let a 12-year-old wander around what is literally one of the most dangerous cities in the world. Danny chose the city specifically for its crime. Well, for its vigilante. Same diff. But no, she had to suffer the good side of the law. She honestly preferred thugs.
I'm 13, thanks.
She chooses to correct. She's physically 13 anyway.
Practically an adult.
Wait until you actually are an adult and you'll finally understand why we all call you literal babies. She rolls her eyes. I can take a more personal interest in your case, if you'd like. Set you up with a good foster. My father has connections.
No thanks. I like the streets.
Really? Why? Danny shrugs. That question has a very complex and ambiguous answer. She's not even sure if it's true. She likes the freedom to move, loves the independence of being on her own. and lives for the adventure of exploration. Does she like the streets, though? They're a means to an end.
I know my options. Fosters, group homes, orphanages.
Even if those are still a thing here. I even have people who want to take me if I wanted.
I choose this, though. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, Danny has places she could go. To Danny, obviously. Or even one of his friends. She even has a room in Phantom's Keep full of her treasures and primed for her return. But even though she's not entirely sure what she wants, she knows she certainly doesn't want either of those options long term. Pretty Cop regards her with mischief in his eye. Loitering. Danny barks out a laugh.
Seriously? Bloodhaven and every other city in the world, for that matter, have way worse to worry about than loitering.
I mean, it's still a crime.
Then trespass me,
she retorts. He looks ready to shoot back an answer, but is interrupted by a sharp knock at the door. With a sheepish grin, he heads out the door and closes it behind him. Danny focuses on the sound of them talking outside. Yeah, Sarge? Come on, Grayson. I need you to head out to the Upper West Side. We got some reports about a possible drug deal. Don't worry about the kid. Miss Race is here to take her to a group until they have a more permanent placement for her. I have a lead on this case, though, if... No, Grayson. You are a police officer, not a detective. I need you suited up and out in 10 minutes. Take Johnson with you. There's a brief pause. Yes, sir. Danny watches him look back at her with regret, and she smiles and waves goodbye. He lifts his hand in departure with a grimace, then stalks off to do as his sergeant says, with a decidedly less pep than before. The door opens again and allows a very plump, sweaty woman through with a manila folder in her hand with an irritated glint in her eye. Danny lets her expression fall into a scowl. Something tells her that this woman will be significantly less fun to deal with than Pretty Cop. Let's get going, the lady, Miss Rees, presumably snaps.
It's already getting hot and my car has crap air conditioning.
Danny follows, but only because she knows it will be a piece of cake to slip out of her care later. She's already walking in her blind spot, though she wouldn't make a run for it in a room full of cops. She catches the eye of Pretty Cop and smirks. By his critical look, she knows he can tell exactly what she's thinking. He doesn't call her out on it, though, just rolls his eyes and grabs his quad keys. Danny decides she likes this guy.
Thank you again, Queen Star of the Universe, for letting me share this wonderful fic here on YouTube. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I have. And please go share your love and support to the author in the link in the description. It takes you straight to AO3 and to the first chapter of their wonderful fic. Please go check it out. It's so good. Anyway, I would love to hear some of your favorite moments in this podfic in the comments below. I would love to talk about them. I would love to talk to people in general. I'm kind of a nervous wreck right now. Okay. This is Jane Doe, and I hope to see you in our next reading session.